Welcome to our session on changing landscape of cancer care delivery. This is part of a campaign, Cancer Care Matters, launched on National Cancer Awareness Day on November 7th in association with GE Healthcare. We have with us Dr. Shibaji Chattopadhyay, Chief Operating Officer, Cancer Centers of America, and Mr. Raghavendra Rao, Chief Commercial Officer, GE Healthcare, South Asia. So welcome to the session. So let's start with Dr. Shibaji. So Dr. Shibaji, you have extensive track record and working in the healthcare industry in both multi-speciality hospital chains and international cancer care chains for several years. So to start with, can you describe your views of the healthcare landscape and how it has been changing?
Yeah, so Anuradha, it's a very important question that when we are talking about any awareness, any scenario in healthcare, there has been in the last 2 decades, I personally has observed that there has been a huge transition in the perspective of how healthcare is given is changing. Now, what I call it as a healthcare shift. Now, if you remember previously, the entire healthcare care providing network was concentrating around the major metros in the country, right? And slowly what happened, one primary shift which I see is healthcare slowly moving into tier 2 and now into tier 3 cities. That's one. Number two is there has been a lot of consolidation of healthcare practice happening in the country. There are a lot of benefits associated with when I speak about consolidation, because we share resources, we learn from each other, and we share the benefits. That's the number second, which I've observed in this last 2 decades. And thirdly, and most importantly, which is evolving now in the last decade, is single specialty networks are taking a lot of prominence in the country. Now, historically, if you have seen that there were only few entities in the country which were treating patients in the single specialty platform. So these are the 3 primary changes I have seen in my experience over the last 2 decades, which is happening in the country.
Yeah, those are wonderful points and quite positive ones, because like you're saying, accessibility, first of all, is increasing. And you're saying that we also know that there's a lot of technological advancement when it comes to cancer care and delivery. And Mr. Rao, this is a question for you since you work in this field as well. So cancer is again a very complex area, and early diagnosis is key to beginning early treatment, and thus finding a cure and helping the patient also manage the disease very well. So how is this access to technology and being addressed by the health ecosystem in your experience when it comes to the private initiative as well as the government?
Yeah, thanks, Anuradha. I think it's quite pertinent given the fact that the cancer incidence in the country is galloping quite fast. Today, as a matter of fact, probably there are close to about 15 lakh plus patients who are suffering with cancer patients. And, the incidence has only increased because of the spread of more diagnostic centers and multi-specialty / single specialty facilities in the country. The prominent factor for accessibility is technology adoption, right? And technology adoption is in many ways a function of the overall investments that the healthcare facilities both in private and government need to make. What we have done, and which is a strong reason for improved accessibility versus what it was a few years back, is the introduction of a new product by name DIQ, Discovery IQ. Sometimes back, these products were available at a cost lot higher than to the tune of 30-40% than what they are today. And a product that is affordable has driven technology adoption. And in many ways, technology adoption has improved accessibility as well for patients. So, this is something that, as a technology provider, we have been able to do well, which has been one big driver for improved accessibility. Having said that, I think what we need to get to is miles away from where we are. And two, big stakeholders who can play a key role is institutions like CCA and government institutions. Still, we are a population, which has most of our healthcare expenses paid out of the pocket. And, this would only change with more facilities being set up in government institutions, because that's one big reason for affordability to go down for patients who need cancer treatment. And the initiatives that government needs to take are multi-pronged in nature. One, they will have to, in Apex regional cancer centers, they need to have a comprehensive portfolio of technologies to ensure that people get care through the entire pathway of cancer treatment. That's one. Number two, in places where they are unable to invest for reasons that all of us know, they will have to press the pedal on public-private partnerships. And now to your last portion of the question, in terms of what we need to do with in the private segment. I think private segment has done quite a bit of both awareness and investments in cancer treatment and in oncology specialty specifically. If not for private, I think many of these facilities that we see today and look up to for treatment would not have been possible. While having said that, I think the speed at which the private healthcare facilities can expand is something that's something that all of us have to leverage. In my view, private segment, private healthcare facilities and specialty oncology facilities should look more towards tier 2 and tier 3, and the expertise that they have built over last many years is something that they can put to use quite effectively by embarking on initiatives that are around education plus best practice sharing with their alliances that they have, and also a mini hub and spoke model between their own networks, so that the best of the treatment is made available, and more years are added to patients who are actually going through this journey of cancer treatment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rao. You've touched on several very interesting points, and some of which we will revisit during the conversation. But importantly, there's a big gap in healthcare access, when it comes to tier 2 and tier 3 cities between, let's say, urban India and rural India. So, Dr. Shibaji, how, since you have a unique position as a clinician, as well as, you're a successful administrator, hospital administrator, and for more than 2 decades, as you mentioned. So what do you think the healthcare segment is doing to bridge this gap?
Anuradha, one thing is I see Indian healthcare not between urban and rural, because what I feel that the entire healthcare in India is one as a whole, right? And the reason why that gap has happened is because of access, and access doesn't mean only the geographical access. Access also means the access to good clinicians who will drive that program, and also access to modern living. But many times we see talents and everything get attracted to a place which has evolved more. So I feel that the major metros have already evolved, and now healthcare is slowly, there is a healthcare shift happening, and and healthcare is slowly moving into tier 2, tier 3 cities. Now, what do we do, like healthcare organization like us, trying to solve it is we are trying to establish our cancer centers near to the patient, because uh, cancer is a very, what you called, an unique clinical condition, right? And it requires prolonged treatment, a lot of hand holding, a lot of softer side. So we are trying to take what usually patients would have got in the metros to cities which is near to their home, which is far more accessible by them, and at a price which is substantially less if a patient has to travel crisscross states or crisscross the country to a center of excellence in the major metros. So in one line, I'll try to say that we are trying to create center of excellences in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. That's what we are trying, because tier 1 population already has the privilege of access to center of excellence. So that's what we are trying to bridge the gap. Secondly, to create a center of excellence, definitely three things is most important required. One is infrastructure, which as a private entity, we are putting in. Secondly, technology, where we have companies like GE, the Linac manufacturers, correct, who are coming forward and helping us in bridging this gap. Like, as I said, the Discovery IQ series, we are taking these machines to tier 2, tier 3 cities, which was more like a dream impossible around a couple of years back. And thirdly is to shift clinicians. It's a reverse migration of clinicians happening from major metros to tier 2, tier 3 cities. If we have all these three verticals into place, and with a vision of a management which feels we can give honest healthcare, then I don't see any reason you will see, Anuradha, in maybe a couple of years, there will be center of excellences coming up in small tier 2 and even tier 3 cities.
And that's a wonderful point. And you're saying this is just a couple of years away. What was once considered an impossible dream.
Yeah, it's only a couple of years away, because Mr. Rao is here, and if you see the statistics, the quantum of technology that is being installed is far more into tier 2 and tier 3 cities, correct? Because that's where actually the need is there, and patients really need it. They have to move it, and healthcare is shifting, and that's why also why AIIMS also moved out of Delhi into tier 2 cities, because government also feels that center of excellences will slowly come up in tier 2, tier 3 cities, because there is education of people are increasing. They know what to ask from a healthcare provider, and with technological support and infrastructure is increasing, and talents which were clinical talents which predominantly wanted to settle down in major metros, as I said, the lifestyle index, what we call it, is slowly increasing in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So it is helping providers like us to attract the clinical talent back near to their roots. In a couple of years, you will see more of institutes in this tier 2, tier 3 cities getting the level of center of excellences and doing extremely great clinical work, which usually around a decade back was only available in centers in the big metros. That's what I feel and I believe.
Okay, that's great, because as you said, instead of the patient and the family coming to bigger cities for treatment, and which means lack of access, affordability, travel costs, etc. Now you're taking healthcare to the patient itself in their hometown.
Yes.
Cool. And I think a lot of people during the pandemic also, we saw they were rediscovering their hometowns, staying at home again. So I think if with all these things, combined, if people can stay in their hometowns and there are better opportunities and it attracts more talent, then I think it's good news for healthcare as well.
The pandemic has taught that there is, this is the first time we have seen reverse migration happening, and healthcare has seen this healthcare shift a few years back. So healthcare is slowly moving back to tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
That's really good to know. And Mr. Rao, over to you. Do you think, we're talking so much about cancer care and accessibility, etc. And a lot of what you're saying is actually new for us, So do you think enough attention is being paid to oncology and cancer care? And what are your recommendations in this regard?
Thanks, Anuradha. I think it's very, very pertinent, when we look at the overall actions that, all stakeholders in this ecosystem need to make an impact in onco, treatment for this population in the country. The attentions and actions have to go hand in hand. Yes, there has been an improved attention in comparison to what it was a few years back. Okay, let me give you a little bit of the statistics. One of the key technology in onco treatment from our perspective is a PET-CT. Right? Till about 2015, the country had close to about 70 PET scanners in the country, 70 to 100, I would say. But in the last 5 years, this number has galloped to about 175 to 200. So, the growth at which technology is being adopted is a function of attention that, stakeholders are giving to this treatment, to this specialty. But beyond this, there is a lot of distance that, all of us need to jointly cover. And let me explain why that is important. The rate at which the incidence is increasing versus the rate at which the infrastructure and the specialty hospitals are being set up, there is a disconnect, right? Until unless the setup of infrastructure along with the technology is faster or at the same pace as with the incidence of disease, right? We would not probably be at a point where we can say enough attention has been given, right? There are multiple people who need to come together to ensure that, the attention, due attention is given to this particular disease area. Government definitely has a big role to play here. It's not just looking at, setting up facilities, but to Dr. Shivaji's point, I think they should look at ways to improve quality, skilled manpower that is needed in these specialty hospitals, so that, you have technology, but at the same time, you also have people who are equipped to utilize this technology and deliver service to patients, right? So government should definitely look at accelerating growth, education initiatives, and also incentivizing people to work in those areas in this specialty. So that's one big, recommendation that I would call for. The second one, which is very pertinent, and I would probably, even to the point it's call to action, is how can we accelerate public-private partnerships coupled with quality private healthcare facilities going into more of tier 2 and tier 3, right? Today we have done a little bit of that, but it's a step in the right direction. Is it enough? Definitely not, but it needs to be a lot more. And for us to get to a realistic estimate of what that could be, I think we will have to kind of prime tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4 markets and assess what's really the potential that exists. And many of these are well documented. Just to name a few, northeastern states, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, I think these are top of the charts in terms of cancer incidence, right? And, we know which locations have oncology facilities and which do not have. So it's, in many ways, you can actually create a heat map of the locations that an oncology facility needs to be set up, right? So, it needs to be multi-pronged, where both the healthcare facilities, the industry, and the government needs to work hand in hand, leveraging PPP and infrastructure support to ensure, these facilities increase in tier 2 and tier 3 and hence improve the accessibility significantly. So till such time, till that point in time, I would probably see the attention is there, but it's not where it needs to be. So, just to sum it up, I think two very important things. Government needs to play a holistic role in terms of not just infrastructure built up, but also needs to look at getting quality skilled manpower into the network of oncology care, point number one. And point number two, what we are currently doing jointly between healthcare facilities and technology providers also needs to get a quantum jump in what they are currently doing by looking at the heat map of potential states and districts in the country which badly need healthcare facilities to be set up.
Yes, I think that's a great call to action. That wherever there's cancer incidents, especially in certain parts of the country, that's where we should, at least ideally it should be all over the country, but let's start with that, focus there. And Dr. Shivaji, would you want to add to that?
Anuradha, you started this question on a very right note, that is much attention being given to onco care. Now, it's yes, it is to a certain extent. I'll say the focus has slowly started coming into it. Now, historically, what has happened is cancer care was always there in the country, right? But it was like a normal department in many of the leading multi-specialty chains in the country. There is a history that onco care was always slightly offbeat than the other multi-specialty. That's why we had the regional cancer centers being set up by government. We have the Tatas doing Kidwai, Adyar, GCRI in Gujarat. They were on the public stage doing great work in the cancer. Now, to understand that, yes, all the national big chains were having oncology as one of their departments. Now, oncology care is slightly different than any other multi-specialty space, because I have worked both in big national multi-specialty chains, as now has been for the last few years, have been setting up cancer hospitals across the country. Now, there are two things. One, cancer, if you see, is considered in the clinical field a very cold branch. It's not an emergency branch, right? So patients have options. Now, what does we mean by options? Options means both the team, the clinical team that is on the other side of the table, has to dedicate a lot of time, correct, in cancer, number one. So only specialized player or a specialized care providers who has that vision to create a national chain and move into that focus branch, will always be able to give the best of care. The focus has started coming in, and on both sides. It's part of the what you call the need of the hour, where people are also looking into single specialty care providers, where they feel that okay, I can get the best of care. In multi-speciality, it's like one of their normal departments under an umbrella. So the cancer patients, the families need a lot of personal touch, which single specialty chains like us who are only will work in the cancer domain is getting that focus. And in time to come, it is bound to happen, because technology upgrade will take a lot of part. And so I feel, yes, it slowly started getting that traction, but a lot needs to be done. And that's where, as Mr. Rao rightly said, yes, if we get a lot of hand-holding from the government side of it, this awareness will spread much faster, and there will be, again, a lot of good center of excellences coming up in different parts of the country, rather than some 7-8 standalone flagship cancer care big facilities spread across the country. That's what I feel.
Right. No, that's a good point. And I think the positive news here is, like you said, we need more focus, but it's already there. And
yes.
even though it's time and money intensive, single specialty centers are already coming up. And we just
Yes.
need many more of those.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So we were also talking about awareness when it comes to, the general public, because once these hospitals are there, they need to go there and get themselves checked. Even if there's a symptom, they need to recognize it. So, and not even that, I think when it comes to accessing care for a cancer patient, one is left with a lot of questions and a lot of advice coming in from many quarters. So is there a checklist that you would suggest for, a family member or a patient when they're looking for cancer treatment? Which hospital, what doctor, what tests?
Okay, so usually what has happened now, a lot of checklists and everything is available in Google. So I usually feel that yes, patients are much more educated, but coming back to the mainstream, like what they should look is centers which are into organ specific cancer care, which will slowly take the center space in cancer care. Now, what does I mean by so usually chains or groups like us whose total focus is into cancer care providing across the country. We evolved something known as an organ specific care methodology. So there are doctors who will only focus into lung care or lung cancer. There will be people who are totally dedicated into the gastro-onco segment, maybe the gynec-onco segment, the breast cancer segment. Now, yes, it is not possible that all these specialists, to be honest enough, is available in every center. But since centers which operate on a tumor board methodology, the resources are shared and there are cross references which happen between the centers of the similar group. Now, for example, in my center in Punjab, there might be a very good oncologist who is evolving himself in predominantly into the lung cancer space. Now, there might be a patient coming into a place in UP, maybe in Gorakhpur, who needs that type. So with technology coming in, with the electronic medical records coming in and everything, and these doctors speak, the reports speak, and the best of care comes in. So what patients should look into when they're going to any cancer care provider is that system having a mandated internal tumor board. Now, tumor board is the best concept of treating cancer care, where all the doctors related to cancer sit down, decide on the basis of what stage the patient is in cancer and what is the best result outcome that will happen to the patient, whether we will start with a chemotherapy followed by a radiation or a surgical intervention followed by radiation or vice versa. That's one mandate, and they should look into it. And I think the best of institutes in the country, correct, in private and government, they do follow it. Secondly is that in Western world already, organ specific cancer care has evolved. It's coming in India because a lot of talents are, we have a lot of clinicians who are available. A lot of medical oncologists are coming, are passing out from the centers. So this is number two, which is very important because that gives a very precise care mechanism. And the third part of it is, does the onco center always look into the palliative part of it? So it's a very unique situation where we always talk about the preventive and the curative part of it. But in cancer, there is one part which left aside is the palliative part of it. Now, it's unfortunate with whatever interventions, we might not be able to cure each and every cancer patients. Fourthly, definitely, which needs to get mentioned is, does this centers upgrading their knowledge bank as well as the technology bank? These two are very, very important because cancer, I don't know whether, so cancer is one field where the world's maximum research is going on, and both in the technology front as well as the pharmaceutical front, right?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shivaji. I think this will prove very helpful for whoever's listening in. And also, as you said, it's very important to get a hospital which is updated on all the recent research and technological advancements, and also has specialists who can sit down and, decide the treatment plan. And in unfortunate cases, also advise on palliative care if required.
Yes.
So, Mr. Rao, we spoke earlier about technology and in cancer care, and you mentioned the Discovery IQ, and we also know that GE Healthcare is very active in the precision health space. So, could you explain what that means exactly? When you're talking about delivering precision health, personalized care for a patient. So, yeah, over to you.
It's a broad area of topics that you have brought in this particular question, but let me try and break this up. Um, See, cancer treatment without technology is very rudimentary. And I alluded to what we have been able to do from an access standpoint, but by bringing in a Discovery IQ product, which otherwise would have costed 30-40% higher a few years back, and which in many ways has improved technology adoption in tier 2 and tier 3, and even in metro cities. To me, technology has to solve both affordability as well as quality, and hence, the role of technology in modern cancer care is of immense importance, has immense importance. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two is how are some of these technologies helping expand treatment options? Okay, so let me try and give you a view to how some of these can be accelerated even more. See, one of the basic input, what you call sources, that is needed for a PET scanner to work efficiently. In the first place, to even work to deliver what it is intended to, is an isotope by name FDG. Okay? And this is actually produced by an equipment by name cyclotron. And the more the cyclotrons, the more is the ability to produce FDG, and more FDG can be supplied to PET scanners, and hence more PET scanners in the country. And these cyclotrons are capable of bringing in tracers, the new isotopes, though have little shelf life, shorter shelf life, have capability of bringing in more new tracers, which can help diagnose some of the new disease areas much better and provide that additional information in the hands of clinicians to help patients get better diagnosis than what was available otherwise. Now, and then you're now coming to the most important one, which is around precision care. See, precision care, I would kind of leave this at a high level. Precision in terms of your capability of the imaging devices to spot a disease or a lesion in shortest possible time with the lowest possible dose, because these are all X-ray emitting equipment with the lowest possible dose, is something that everybody would look for, right? And the reason why I make this point is three big disease types that take most of the disease incidence in the country are head and neck, cervical, and breast cancer. Now, your ability to spot something very early on is a function of how good the imaging technology is, right? If you have a lesion that is 1 mm in size, you may have probably devices that can't pick them, right? And hence, even if you have somebody who is going through the diagnostic tests, he may probably end up going out of the facility knowing that he's cancer-free, right? So hence, your ability and to have technology that can detect smaller lesions is extremely important. Similarly, in the shortest possible time, so that you can have more and more patients get diagnosed and treated, becomes easier. So that's another important one. So that in terms of spotting the smallest lesions accurately and precisely is one big driving factor for improving cancer care through modern technology today. Now, having said that, there is another huge area that Dr. Shibaji and clinicians who work with in onco specialty have to deal with, which is around treatment options. You have linear accelerator, which is a significantly big technology need in any oncology hospital. Your ability to spot the lesion and your ability to treat that particular lesion through a LINAC becomes extremely important, and hence how precise you can be with your devices is another area that brings in an element of precision care. Now you come to personalized medicine. Personalized medicine is all about the entire how effective are these devices in spotting a disease, looking at the makeup of your DNA, and then letting you know what diseases you would be prone to, and taking proactive measures much before the onset of disease in itself. In many ways becomes a personalized treatment. And the last piece is something that we probably have to make a big step towards implementing is around personalized medicine. I think there are facilities in the country which are already on its way to drive personalized medicine. But before we get there, I think there is a whole area of imaging devices plus treatment options that healthcare facilities need to adopt, which in my view would make a big impact in a very positive way for needy patients all across the country.
Yes, and what I find fascinating is that you also mentioned you can also predict diseases in a person, right? What they could be prone to. So,
yes.
Yeah, I think that is really marvelous. Yeah. And so basically, it's early diagnosis, catching a lesion which is even just 1 mm, and even predicting what could happen in the future. So, Dr. Shibaji, I mean, you have a vast and diverse experience in healthcare. So, how does this translate on ground, when it comes to patients and as a doctor?
Mr. Rao said is absolutely correct. Yeah, it is slowly translating to the ground, and being a clinician and with an administration background, I have the benefit of understanding the need from both sides of the table. Now, I understand that what technology the clinicians need for the best of care to be given to the patient, and also on the other side, what the management would prefer to make itself a distinct out care provider. And also, yes, since there are a lot of capital required, what would be the best possible combination can be brought in where the quality of care can enhance, and also the model is made viable for sustainability. I'll not use the return of investment because people might take it anyway. Healthcare is always being seen with a very commercialized eyes. But I always say technology into cancer care is evolving more and more. And in years to come, as Mr. Rao rightly said, cyclotron, I mentioned a point before his statement is we want to bring in more of PET CT so that we can diagnose more of people, like the smallest of lesions, and we can tell the patient, yes, this should be done, and this how you can be cured. And trust me, one of the reasons why this technology of PET is so important is many times we miss out. Correct, and that is deadly. And when the patient comes back, it is at stage 4, and we feel helpless. Yeah, so like if the cyclotron would be available in many more places and everything, maybe providers like us, we would be installing more of PETs in our facilities, which will eventually benefit the patients. We will be able to create more of awareness now also. What I truly believe what Mr. Rao said, and being a person from the ground, yes, I personally will definitely invest in technology, and that's what CCA has been doing. Although we are now growing it into a pan-India chain.
Yes, and as you both pointed out, we need public-private partnership to increase the footprint for, cancer care and healthcare across India. So I think we've covered a lot of ground here and very interesting facts you both brought to light. So any concluding comments? We'll start with you, Mr. Rao.
Yeah. Anuradha, I think we are on a journey to improve, the footprint of cancer care facilities in the country so that, people have access to modern technology and have treatment options, for them to successfully navigate through the care pathway as they go through the, entire protocol of treatment. Now, having said that, this needs to be a multi-pronged approach. It cannot be one person, who could probably do everything that's needed. Now, it needs to be an equal effort from government, the private care providers like CCA and technology providers like GE Healthcare and a few other companies who are in this oncology space coming jointly together to improve the overall footprint of onco care in the country. Now, a few things that we have done, is enabling some of these healthcare providers, make these plans a reality. So our partnerships with CCA, our partnerships with Tata, and our partnership with a few other oncology facilities in the country, and our engagements with government through PPP initiatives have done significant investments in this space and have improved accessibility for patients needing this. Now, for this to have a step function change, it needs to be we'll have to embark on the direction that we have taken. I would probably say that it needs to be accelerated with more infrastructure, which has technology and people competency in one basket, and two, the government initiatives to ensure great hub and spoke model through PPP initiatives, and the other equally important one is to ensure you have facilities like cyclotron all across the country that can enable CT installations so that the diagnosis in onco care become that much more higher, and hence accessibility, treatment options, getting people diagnosed at stage 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4 today becomes a reality.
Right. Dr. Shivaji, any concluding comments from your end?
Yeah, Anuradha. So this topic of changing of landscaping onco care is yes, a few things. One, definitely there is a change happening. Care providers are focusing more with partners like GE and few of the people who are dedicatedly working into the cancer segment to bring in the best of technology in India. But I have few points. See, technology, care providers, they will be there. We will be working, but working in cancer for so many years, Anuradha, one thing I would request, and since you represent the media house, I think we need your support even more at this junction. The reason behind it, in years to come, cancer will be one of the most predominant disease burden in the country. Like, I'll not name the reasons, but see, what I have been seeing, right? We will bring in technology, we might screen the patients, but a major population is not getting that awareness message. This disease will take center spot in few years to come. But my appeal to you, to Indian Express, and to all the national media houses, that why not we make that national cancer grid a reality, right? It was always a discussion topic. Many care providers started talking about it, and till date, the national cancer grid is taking shape. But to make it a reality, make the cancer awareness program across the country, right? So it will only be possible if we have the media supporting this program. So that's my what you call plead and a wish both.
Absolutely, and it's a very sobering thought that it's cancer is going to take center stage. It's already a serious disease, but I think as Mr. Rao also said, we need to accelerate our efforts in the right direction. And yes, it is a joint responsibility for all stakeholders to work in this direction. And I think our session today will also be a step in the right direction. So thank you so much, Dr. Shivaji, Mr. Rao, for joining us today.
Thank you, Anuradha.
Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Shivaji.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you, G. Thank you, Indian Express, for conducting this type of seminars. And as you rightly said, we're looking forward to create more awareness. Thank you, everybody.